All right, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises to Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Hashem Rakakodash, double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone that told me this truth. And also, Shalom to the hopeful elect, to the body believers are prophesied to return in these latter days. All right, the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, all right, and the tabernacle of David, that is being rebuilt, all right. And briefly in this lesson, I wanted to touch on this Log4J situation, because, and I'll title it Log4J, cyber warfare or order ab chao. All right, and it's really an open question, because in reality it's somewhat of a combination of both. All right, because when you look at the timing of the situation, you've had the internet, up and going, for going on, 20 plus years now, and the timing of this kind of issue, is incredible. All right, and we know the end game. All right, we know that the centerpiece of the NWO, the centerpiece of the Great Reset, is that Revelations 13 and 16. All right, it is that charagma. All right, that bag of chips. All right, that thing that you can't really talk about on YouTube. We know that's the end game. And we also know that this financial system, all right, and this, the banking system, and even the way that the internet is used right now, all of that is going to be taken, all right, to the next level. All right, is going to enter into another phase, if you will. All right. But everything has been a build up to that, if that makes sense. So when you consider, this fiat currency system, all right, how, unstable it is, how unprofitable it is. And then even when you consider like the debt situation, for example, these systems were created essentially to implode on themselves. All right. And that's when they could come in with the order out of chaos. That's the motto of these elite. So this Log4j situation is very interesting. And I'm just going to read a couple articles on it, so we just to bring some understanding and clarity to it. Lord willing, is edifying. But without further ado, let's just hop into it, man. These are both one's on the Wired.com, and then the other one's on the Wall Street Journal. Came out on the 16th, so 2 days ago. It says the next wave. Actually, before I read this one, let's read the second one first, so we can get an understanding on what exactly it is that's going on. All right, because I actually know somebody personally in the cybersecurity space, that is dealing with this issue. And it's sounding like it's pretty significant, and also, ultimately we know that some type of event, some type of major cyber security event is more than likely going to take place. All right, they've been planning for it. They've been running simulations, and ultimately, it's looking like that's what's coming, because the new system has to be issued in somehow. They have to prove, they have to prove all these systems that we're in now. They have to prove them unreliable, undependable, and they're gonna do that. They're gonna do that by, ushering in all these different events. you know. And the CV-19 situation, obviously, was a part of that as well, the digitization of everything. But Salaki, I'm not trying to ramble. Let's just get into it. It says, what is the Log4j vulnerability? What to know? Corporate security executives are accessing risk as software companies disclose exposure. It says a flaw in widely used internet software known as Log4j has left companies and government officials scrambling to respond to a glaring cybersecurity threat to global computer networks. The bug disclosed last week could enable potentially devastating cyber attacks that span economic sectors and international borders, according to the security experts. All right, so this is actually a very serious situation, um, very serious situation. Whether it is genuine, or whether it is planned, is really irrelevant. All right, ultimately, it all plays a role in prophecy. All right, in the end game that the Heavenly Father has ordained all the way from the beginning of time. All right. It says U.S. officials said hundreds of millions of devices were at risk. All right. Hundreds of millions of devices were at risk and issued an emergency directive Friday ordering federal agencies to take immediate steps to mitigate the threat. Researchers and major technology companies warn that hackers linked to foreign governments, all right, hackers linked to foreign governments and criminal ransomware groups were probing how to exploit the vulnerability within target computer systems. All right. Here's what we know about the Log4j flaw. All right. So essentially, this Log4j thing, basically, it's a flaw. It's a design flaw. All right, in um, the programming of all these different apps. You know, consumer applications. Like Facebook, Twitter. Your Amazon account, and then also business applications as well. All right, so this actually spans basically all industries. All right, there's not, and it'll go into it as we get into the article. So let me just keep reading. It says software developers use the Log4j framework to record user activity. All right, software developers use the Log4j framework to record user activity and the behavior of applications for subsequent review. Distributed free by the nonprofit Apache Software Foundation, Log4j has been downloaded millions of times and is among the most widely used tools to collect information across corporate computer networks, websites, and application. All right, so this particular tool, if you will, is known for using to gather data, all right, to gather information, all right, which we know is everything in today's time. Like they say, data is the new gold. All right. All these different companies, Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these technology giants, the reason they're big as they are, is because, data harvesting and data selling, all right, to, other corporations so that they can figure out how to best advertise, and sell you their product. All right. So with that whole process, this tool is a major this particular thing, Log4j. It is a major tool, used to harvest data, essentially. All right. It says the Log4j flaw disclosed by Apache last week allows attackers to execute remotely on a target computer, meaning that they can steal data, install malware, or take control. Some cybercriminals have installed software that uses a hacked system to mine cryptocurrency, while others have developed malware that allows attackers to hijack computers for large scale assaults on internet infrastructure. All right. So, because of these vulnerabilities, all right, you know, basically, these infrastructures, these online infrastructures, and like the power grid, for example, like we had that issue last year. All right. Basically, this plays into things like that. All right. So essentially, a foreign government per se, you know how the media is gonna, portray it. All right. Essentially, a foreign government could attack. All right. Could attack. Right. Could cause, some type of cybersecurity event or, incident. All right. And we already know who's going to get blamed on. All right. Considering what you have going on in Russia. All right. The Iran Israel situation. All right. The timing of this, is pretty interesting. It says security experts are particularly concerned that the vulnerability may give hackers enough of a foothold within a system to install ransomware, a type of computer virus that locks up data systems until the attackers are paid by victims. To be clear, this vulnerability poses a severe risk, said Jean Ernest Easterly, director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, in a statement issued Sunday. All right. It says security company Mandate Inc. and Microsoft said they have traced attacks that exploit the flaw to hackers with suspected links to China and Iran. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, let me read that again. It says they have traced it. They have traced attempted attacks that exploit the flaw to hackers with suspected links to China and Iran. All right. Microsoft said one of the groups is the same one responsible for a hack of its Exchange server email product earlier this year, which the US attributed to China. Beijing denies involvement in the attack. Microsoft said it also has also seen nation-backed hackers from North Korea and Turkey attempting to exploit Log4J. All right. And this is another interesting point. It says cybersecurity company Security Scorecard Inc. said Thursday that it has observed scans for the vulnerability linked to Russia-based hackers. All right, Russia-based hackers, including the group blamed for hacking the Democratic National Committee in 2016. All right. So you see, all right, and this is the Wall Street Journal. I forget who the Wall Street Journal is owned by. All right, but all these companies are bought and paid for. All right, and owned by the very people causing these issues. All right, but we see the picture that they're trying to paint. Man, World War III is on the horizon. All right, like the scriptures say. All right, that third woe cometh quickly. All right, World War III is coming, man. And more than likely, all right, there's going to be a situation where life as we know it, this American, Babylonian lifestyle that we're used to living, at some point, all right, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai ultimately is going to bring this shit to a halt, man. All right, he's going to bring this shit to a halt, and a lot of death is going to take place, man. All right, the power grid could be affected, will be probably affected. Water, access to water will be affected. All right, the storage of food will be affected. All right, cars, you won't be able to get gas. You know, these are the type of things that are we are so close, man. We are right there. You know, and the scriptures go into that. When you read Second Ezra's, the 15th chapter, the 16th chapter. All right. Let me grab another couple points, and I think there's only one more point. I'm gonna go to the next article. Um, it says, but certainly we are deeply concerned about the prospect of adversaries using this vulnerability to cause real harm and even impacting national critical functions. All right. So, you know, they're deeply concerned about this. All right. So let me go to the next article. It says that first article was, let me see if I can find the date on this. December 17th. All right. This is the day before, because this has been going on for probably like more than a few days now. It says the next wave of Log4J attacks will be brutal. All right. The next wave. All right. And, this article is interesting because it shows how, because of this issue, all right, essentially, people have gained access to, these systems, and there's not really anything these people, these companies can really do about it. All right, all they can do is fix the flaw. All right, but they're not sure who has access to what. All right, so this is what they're reporting. And they're doing their pseudo prophecy. All right, predicting a next wave. All right, the next wave of Log4j attacks will be brutal. So far, Log4 shell has resulted mostly in crypto mining and a little espionage. The really bad stuff is just around the corner. All right, the really bad stuff is just around the corner. All right, and ultimately, this all really ties into the Revelations 13 and 16, man. The MOTB, the Charagma. All right, that's what this is all about. All right, because even crypto, even crypto, you know, at some point, the crypto was created, all right, for the bag of chips, for the Charagma. All right, that's what it was created for. All right, it is going to be tied to biometrics. All right, the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies. All right, it's going to be connected to that. They go hand in hand. All right, we're not just going to have, all right, crypto, you know, just on your phone. All right, eventually they're going to want it to be a part of you. All right, and they're using these cyber attack type situations to prove and to push the crypto space into that direction. All right, order out of chaos, gradualism. you know it says a week ago the internet experienced a seismic event thanks to a vulnerability in Log4j, a popular open source library. Multitudes of servers around the world were suddenly exposed to relatively simple attacks. The first wave of hacking is well underway, but it's what comes next that should worry you. All right. It says, quote, it says, it is by far the single biggest, most critical vulnerability ever. All right. Hype is endemic in a world of cybersecurity, as is the spread of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Lots of software has flaws. They can't all be so bad. By all accounts, though, the Log4j vulnerability, also known as Log4 Shell, lives up to the hype for a host of reasons. First is the ubiquity of Log4j itself. All right, and ubiquity just means like, common. All right, you look up that definition. It says the fact of appearing everywhere or being very common. All right, so this is a very commonly used thing. All right, on the internet, on the so this problem, is very widespreading and wide-reaching. Like we read in that last article. It says, as a logging framework, it helps developers keep track of whatever goes on inside their apps. All right. Because it's open source and reliable, plugging in Log4j instead of building your own logging library from scratch has become standard practice. All right. And if you know anything, if you've ever had any experience in the crypto space, coding, you'll know that when it comes to coding, it's very few developers that have the talent to actually design code, all right, from scratch on their own. All right. Most people, combine, all right, they copy and paste, if you will, all right, code from libraries. All right. So once a popular or a code has been proven, useful, or productive, you'll have all these other developers just copying and pasting it essentially into their code, if that makes sense. All right. So that's the kind of situation we're in. We're in a situation where this shit is everywhere. It says, moreover, so much of modern software is cobbled together from various vendors and products that it may be difficult, if not impossible, for many potential victims to even know the full extent of their exposure. If your code's innermost Marioshka doll runs Log4j, good luck finding it. But wait, there's more. Log4j is also relatively trivial to exploit. All right. And that word trivial, it says of little value or importance. It says Log4j shell is relatively trivial to exploit. Right. So it's easy, to take advantage of this flaw. Just send a malicious piece of code or wait for it to get logged. Once that happens, congratulations. You can now remotely run whatever code you want on the affected server. It's that combination of severity, simplicity, and pervasiveness that has the security community rattled. It is by far the single biggest, most critical vulnerability ever. All right. It says, and state-sponsored groups from China and Iran have been spotted using Log4 Shell to establish footholds in various targets. All right. So here we see, all right, these other nations, all right, being, blamed, if you will. All right. And this is all being done for a reason. All right. Let me skip down. It says phase 2, all right, is almost certainly underway. That's when the so-called access brokers get to work selling their Log4j footholds to cyber criminals in search of easy entry. Ransomware gangs and other crooks, meanwhile, are either customers in that market or hard at work developing their own exploits. More sophisticated actors are taking measure of what systems they're in, what defenses they encounter, and what's worth pursuing further. Log4j gets you into a system, but you still need a strategy for once you're there. Weaponizing this vulnerability or any vulnerability for ransomware or espionage or it's spying, takes more planning. All right. It says while much of this foundational work has likely already been undertaken, it might be a while before its impacts are fully known. Early indications are worrisome, though. We're already seeing it leveraged for ransomware attacks, which again should be a major alarm bell, says Yerman. We've also seen reports of attackers using Log4Shell to destroy systems without even looking to collect ransom, a fairly unusual behavior. All right, so in this particular situation, it's been reported that people who have taken advantage of this flaw and gotten into these systems are just looking to destroy shit. All right, they're not even looking to make money. All right, they're just going in and they're just fucking shit up. You know, excuse my language. You know, and it's points like these that make this particularly interesting. You know, with everything you got going on geopolitically as well. All right, like I said, when you consider the Russia situation, you know, that Russia and India, all right, meeting you had a week ago, you know, Iran, Israel, you know, China, all right. It says still other threat actors, particularly those focused on espionage, may be bidding their time so as not to give away their position. Log4j provides a footbridge over the moat. Once you've crossed it, you don't care if someone burns it down behind you. In fact, that might be preferable. An organization that thinks Log4Shell problem is solved may let its guard down. Honestly, the biggest threat here is that people have already gotten access and are just sitting on it. Even if you remediate the problem, somebody's already in the network. All right. Big organizations, the Fortune 500 types, likely have the resources to plug their Log4Shell holes in the coming weeks and months. But even they'll have to wait for third party vendors to provide fixes, while whole constellations of companies and organizations lack the capacity or personnel even to know how exposed they are, much less patch these points of exposure. All right. And that's an important point. All right. Because when you consider, all right, the financial aspect of this, you know, pandemic, all right, we see that it has basically destroyed small to medium-sized businesses. All right. And we're seeing these mega corporations, you know, eat up more and more companies, all right, destroying competition. All right. So you have, you know, the pandemic, all right, and you have this cyber, you know, pandemic, if you will. You know, you have companies, all right, which every company in today's world, you know, their online piece, you know, their online sales, you know, and infrastructure are damn near more important, you know, at least as important, you know, as the stuff that they're doing, you know, in house, if you will. You know, so this situation is gonna be another reason that these small to medium sized businesses don't make it. All right. And that's when you begin to see that this is all by design, man. All right. This is all being done by design. It has to be, you know, when you consider, you know, through the spirit and me speaking as a man, you know, when you consider this type of issue, all right, you know, this, it just doesn't, it's just sending off all type of, you know, spiritual cues, man, that World War III, all right, absolute chaos, all right, is coming, you know, maybe a false flag, maybe a staged, you know, attack, all right, they're all coming, man. This is it. This shit is over with. All right, this shit is over with. It says, to say nothing of the vast swaths of the internet that no one's looking after all. The next wave of Log4Shell is coming, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. All right, it's going to be around, says Gallagher, as long as the internet. All right, and like I said before, the internet of bodies, all right, the metaverse, and the bag of chips, you know, the Revelations 13 to 16, all right, is going to be a solution posed, all right, to solve all of these issues. All right, and you're either going to get with it, or you're going to stand stiffly um, for your how about Shem Yao Shai, you know. So that's all I wanted to get on that. Lord willing, it was edifying. I just wanted to read through those articles real quick. With that, I'll say shalom.